All right, your bell ringer from last class. Don't forget about the hurricane drive. I haven't gotten any action through this room, but you're supposed to bring it to the guidance room, but I'll take it here. Anything you can donate to the cause. Last class, you read Luke chapter 2. What was Simeon promised? Simeon's this old man in the temple. He's been hanging out there for days. And he was promised something by God. Who remembers what that'd be? Kenyani. He would see the Messiah before he would die. I mean, that's a big promise. Jewish people have been waiting on the Messiah for thousands of years, and this old man's told you're gonna see him. You know, who knows if that's true or not? You know, when I was in college, um, there was I learned about what it might be true, which is that Jesus and Mary were appearing to people, a small group of kids in Garabandal, Spain. And part of the message was that there would be 3 days of darkness. So it's kind of like a doomsday message, like, yeah, world, clean up your act because Jesus is going to come and just clean up for you. Well, it was kind of like a doomsday message, but they said before the end of the world, there's going to be like this cleansing period, and there'd be 3 days of darkness, no sun for 3 days. And during that time, everybody's conscience would be illuminated, meaning we would all see ourselves as we are before God. It's pretty intense, you know. So I was, and it was told that these 3 days, this I forget what they called it, this illumination, the Great Illumination, I think is what it was referred to, that this would happen in such and such person's lifetime. This person who lived in Garabandal, Spain, would live to see it. And I was like, whoa, it's going to happen soon. And, you know, I got all revved up for that. And then the dude died and it never happened. So, you know, but you can imagine the anticipation. I just tell you that story because, like, what if that was true? Like, you know, it could have been, maybe I got the story wrong. I don't know. But what if that was true? You know, we'd all be on high alert. Well, that's what was going on here. Simeon knew he'd see the Messiah. And it, of course, proved to be true. It's in the Bible. What allows Simeon? He says, Lord, now let your servant go in peace. Your word has been fulfilled. My own eyes have seen the salvation which you have prepared in the sight of every people, a light to reveal you to the nations and the glory of your people Israel. Praise the Lord God, because I can go in peace. I've seen your mercy. I've seen your glory in this child. He turns to Mary. He's got some bad news for Mary. What does he tell Mary? Anybody remember? Anybody get it? He's going to cause many to rise up. He's going to cause many to fall down. He's going to be the answer that most students haven't been picking up from this is that he calls Jesus a sign of contradiction. He's going to come saying, I'm here to bring peace, but people are going to be fighting and killing each other over him. He himself says, I'm going to come that you may have life, and he himself is tortured to death at the age of 33. You know, is a sign of contradiction, paradox perhaps. This entire passage shows you as a lot of things, but one of which is that Jesus is an outward sign. He's a sign that Simeon can now see and appreciate and love. And of course, there's that inward grace of he's coming to bring God's message. He's a sacrament. So that's why it was your bell ring before last class. I'm connecting the puzzle pieces for you. But wanted to go through it today, jog your memory, remind you what we talked about last class, which was primordial sacrament. All right. Efficacious, lesson 3. All right. I'm going to start the lesson with a demonstration. I need everybody in the front row to use some hand sanitizer, just, COVID policies. I'm going to hand you something. I'm going to let you choose something. Okay, because I got a lot of paper in my hands. Lots of paper. What's that? I'm glad your day's turning around, John Paul. Why don't you pick any piece of paper you might want out of this stash of paper?
Well, I want the money, but the white. What does the white paper mean?
It's classified. Whatever. All right. The ladies took the white paper, the guys took the cash. Why'd you take the cash? Why'd you take the 20?
The white paper means nothing.
It means nothing.
Yeah.
It's just paper. That's just paper too.
No, this has a meaning to it.
Why does that have meaning to it?
Because you can buy something.
Why can you buy something with that? Why can't you go to Chick-fil-A and offer them this?
It doesn't represent any money. This represents money.
Why does that represent money?
I don't know.
You're actually right. You're right at the end. The government gives it value. You eventually got there. I didn't have to grill anybody else in the row. Why'd you pick the white paper? Reagan, why'd you pick the white paper? Yeah, he thought there was a trick. Yeah, every class. I think there was only one class in all the years I've been doing this, and it happened yesterday, where everybody took the cash. We all know this will get you something, and the white paper will not. Okay, I'm going to teach you this fancy word, efficacious, using cash money. The government, see, they're both pieces of paper. And what I'm going to say is that the government has the efficacy to turn this into that. The government is efficacious when it comes to producing money. I can't do it. Anybody know the easiest, most immediate way to tell if a bill is counterfeit or not? Everyone says look in the light, and that's true. I mean, you got to see the different tones. There's different what?
There's different signs on every dollar bill.
I didn't know that. Tell me, do you know anything more?
I'll have to look at it. I kind of forgot what's on everyone.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know about that. Now the 20 and most bills have gotten much more complicated since I was in high school. They were two-tone when I was in high school. They got all these colors on them now, all different stamps and blah blah blah, and hold up to the light. But old school way of knowing if this is a real 20 or a fake 20 is the texture. If you take a piece of paper, you crumple it up, stretch it out, and then crumple it up again, you're going to get the paper soft, but it'll never feel like this. There's just a unique texture to the American dollar. So that's the most immediate, obvious way to tell if you know the feel real well. That being said, the government. Now, one student told me yesterday, I don't know if it's true, that there's of course tree products that go in here, but they say when they make money, they insert like linen and cotton to make it, to give it its own unique texture. It doesn't fade. Yeah. I once, no joke. I think I was maybe hanging out Oy vey. I'm just going to turn this sucker off. So, certain texture. I no joke. I think I was playing varsity baseball my junior year, hanging out with a senior ball player during a JV game or something. We were just walking around campus, and there was this little trench on the edge of campus, and he found $100 bill, and it was like only half present. It was like nature had gone to it. It had to have been in that mud for at least a year, probably more. But he took it to the bank. They gave him a new one. Uh, so, anyways, fun facts. The government can produce the type of paper, it can print it in its own special high tech way. They have the efficacy. You and I do not, of course. All right. So now that I've discouraged you from making counterfeit money with the rest of your life, um, I just want to use the word efficacious and show you kind of what the word means. It means, as you know from your vocab today, to produce the desired result. It means it can make things happen every time. It's got the power, as Jim Carrey sings. Y'all know this movie, Bruce Almighty? I would show you a clip from that movie when Jim Carrey receives the power of God. And he realizes that he can do everything. And he's having a lot of fun with it. And in the picture, he's like, I've got the power. And it's all Jim Carrey fun until he, uses it to lustfully look at a woman. So I can't show you the clip. I'm sorry. But he's got the power to produce, to do whatever he wants. Efficacious is what he is. And what does this mean when it comes to the sacraments? Well, if the government has the efficacy to take paper and turn it to money, Jesus Christ has the efficacy to take bread and turn it into himself. He has the power. The sacraments are efficacious to convey this grace. Jesus Christ has the power through his ministers to take water, pour it on somebody's head, and with the right words, with the form and the matter. I did. Could you close your Chromebook? You're trying to find the first bell ringer? Oh, okay. Were you here last class?
I think I was, but I forgot to write it down.
Okay. All right, we're moving on. So I need you to close out. I'll give it to you after class. It's Luke chapter 2. It's the presentation. No Chromebooks otherwise in class. Thank you. So you see the efficacy. I'm going to teach you next chapter that it doesn't take a priest to baptize. Anybody in this room, technically, has the efficacy to be an instrument, or really, God has the efficacy in the sacrament when you have the right words in the water to baptize somebody, to change their soul forever. So, to put some words on it from the Catechism, by the action of Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit, the sacraments make present efficaciously the grace they signify. So, they always, always, always offer you and give you a grace. They always offer you, and I don't mean to go too fast, but I use the word grace a lot. You got at least two juniors who named Grace. We got Grace Delumo and Grace Angel. Like that great. What is grace? It's a pretty name. It's we say it every time we say the Hail Mary. Hail Mary, full of grace. But what we're talking about is when you participate rightly in the sacraments, you are receiving the life of God. God's very life is underlined there. So it's about God pouring his grace into you every time through the sacraments. They don't work some of the time, they work all of the time because they're actions truly of God, not of the priest, not of you and me, but they're actions of God. When done right. Eric, could we close the door, please? Be a big help. Yeah. So God's life, that's what we're talking about when we talk about grace. And the sacraments always offer you God's life. They always offer the recipient God's life. Okay? That's what we mean by efficacious. I'm sure some of you wish I taught that about 15 minutes earlier, but that's how it goes. I like to prime you. Like, so some vocab words this year, I'll teach you first, then you get quizzed. But most of them, you got to study, try to learn your own. And then when I teach it, hopefully it clicks a little bit more. So it's kind of like homework, priming you in advance. All right. So our participation in God's life. We're almost good. Always? Really, Mr. Bill? Because listen, Mr. Bill, I'm Catholic. I'm cradle Catholic, meaning I was baptized Catholic as a baby, and frankly, I rarely feel the sacraments working in my life. I'm just entering into the mind of a skeptic right now, and so I ask this question: do they always work? Are they truly efficacious, or does it depend on us? It does slightly depend on us. Okay, are the sacraments efficacious if you're not really open, if you're not really participating, and you have a lot to do with the actual transmission of grace. You do have to receive it well. If you show up all shut up, in mass, that's why I put the picture of this cute little boy who is obviously distracted in mass. Um, we're all like that. I promise you, every human being that's ever attended a mass has been distracted. There might be a few exceptions with the super saints, but every priest, every Eucharistic minister, like everyone gets distracted. But are you, and if we stay distracted, if we intentionally daydream about whatever's going on in our life, you're probably going to go get that Eucharist and you're probably going to get nothing out of it. It's very possible. It's very possible. It's it's possible for you to get confirmed this year and nothing happen. It's uh it's a two-way street. If it's a relationship with Jesus, as I taught you in lesson 2, then you've got to have two things working. Now, God and Jesus always work, but sometimes we do not, as the Catechism says, celebrate the sacrament worthily in faith. Now, don't write the whole paragraph down. You don't need to write that much. Okay, but the what the sacrament says here is that it's Christ Himself who's at work. Like God does the work, and God never fails. You know, He doesn't work 99% of the time. He works 100% of the time. So, what does the Catechism say? What does the Church say that you need to do? You need to simply have a little bit of faith. You need to have just a little bit of faith for that sacrament to work. You need to have a little bit of desire. You need to have just a little bit of focus, a little bit of a belief in what you're receiving. You know, a student asked me this week, I don't know if I should make my confirmation, Mr. Peo. I just don't know if I believe, and that's a valid question that every one of you needs to ask. Truly, this year, some of you it's an easy question, some of you it's hard. But while there's a lot to say about that, you we just need to kind of take the thermometer, the measure. How much faith do you have? Do you have enough faith to say that Jesus Christ is Lord? Do you have enough faith to say that Jesus established a church for His believers to be united and to serve Him? If you can have that level of faith, then and you may not have that level of faith. Most of you do. A lot of you may not. Then I'd say get the sacrament of confirmation. In my 6 years previous here, there's been a couple students where the parent pulls me in. Says, you're the religion teacher. Help us out. My kid doesn't want to be confirmed. I want my kid to be confirmed. I tell the kid, you got to get confirmed. Talk to my kid. Convince him because it ain't working with me, the parent says. This happened about 3 or 4 times. Could happen this year. So I talked to the kid. I say, hey, where you at? And I put the thermometer in the mouth. I said, do you believe in Jesus? And sometimes like, yeah. And sometimes like, no. Phony fictional character for me. There have been a few times I tell the parent, I said, don't make them get the confirmation. Okay, it makes a joke of the sacrament, has no meaning if they don't believe it. Because you need to have a little bit of faith, and some people don't have that. All right, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You don't get any grace. The fruits of the sacrament. This is saying the same thing, but with a different word. But I want you to know this word because I'm going to use it as we talk about the sacraments. You need to have an adequate disposition. A lot of y'all don't know what that word means. You need to be disposed to excuse me. You need to be disposed to receiving God's grace. You need to be have an attitude about you that is both repentant for your sins but looking towards heaven. If we play with the person, joke with the person next to us during mass, we're not well disposed. So you're gonna go get the Eucharist, and it ain't gonna do anything for you, boo. You got to put in the work. All right. Disposition. You got to have a good disposition. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna give you a visual. Okay. I'll give you a visual. Y'all seen the movie Hitch? No. Came out when I was in high school. It's got Will Smith in it though. I'm gonna teach you a rule, gentlemen. This is how you kiss a woman. All right, it has everything to do with the sacraments. It's a 90-10. Justin knows what I'm talking about. 90-10. All right. So let me explain this scene, and then I'll explain how it relates to the sacraments in the last slide. Will Smith is Hitch. That's his name. And because I'm recording, I'm not getting the sound. So this is what I might need to do. Pause the recording